It's bright. Hey y'all, this is Amanda and welcome back to my Texas Zone 8A garden. And today we're talking about one of my favorite topics for gardening, and that is thrifting, using garage sales, using Facebook Marketplace to locate really great, inexpensive finds for your garden. So one of the things I love to do during the winter time is curl up by the fire and shop on Facebook Marketplace. I love reusing items. I prefer, if I can, to buy items used as opposed to buying them new. Yes, it's a little bit about the environment, but it's truthfully more, it brings me a lot of joy. I really enjoy it. I like the hunt. And so I really enjoy that aspect of it. And so what I've done the last few months is I shopped for several items for the garden. And so I want to share those items with you today. And then I'm also going to give you an update on all those tulips and hyacinth that I planted that are looking really great. And then I think we might move a few of the items into the garden. Okay, so one of the main reasons I purchase on Facebook Marketplace or I go thrifting, garage sales, estate sales, one of the main reasons I do that is because I feel like those places have the items with the kind of aesthetic that I appreciate. I prefer a little bit of an older, more vintage or antique aesthetic, and I appreciate that within my garden as well. I don't love like a really new, clean line look. I love that for someone else, but not for myself. It doesn't go with my style. I think I'm very rough around the edges, and so I feel like my items around me should be rough around the edges. Secondly, I really appreciate price points regarding those. A lot of pots that I see brand new are $150, $200, you know. They're fairly expensive and everything can add up real quickly, especially if you're going for something a little bit larger. And so shopping on Facebook Marketplace or at garage sales, estate sales, that allows me the opportunity to lower my price point. It's more fewer and farther in between, so I don't have that ability, that convenience of just being able to go to a store, get exactly what I want and be done. I do have to shop longer and harder for those items, but I'm cool with that. I like doing that. I enjoy the hunt, like I said before. So there is a certain level of convenience of just like ordering something online or buying something in the store because you know exactly what you're getting, you know the price point, everything like that, and it comes to you quicker than shopping around for stuff. So some of the items that I shop for on Facebook Marketplace, garage sales, thrifting, I'm always looking for containers, always looking for planters and pots. If you are any kind of gardener, you know how expensive those items can be, and I do love the really large, heavy, quality pieces, and I can't afford those new, so I have to buy them used. I also love shopping for any kind of ironwork, trellises, any kind of obelisk, any kind of decor that goes really, really well into my garden. I do enjoy that as well. I also shop for gardening tools. I shop for unusual items that wouldn't typically be utilized in the garden. Like recently, I've been shopping for iron beds, like headboards. And I'm wanting to utilize those as a trellis in the garden. So I've been just kind of watching those and looking for a good price point on that. I saw one that I really loved. I'll try to put up a picture if it's still available, but it was $100, and I don't want to spend $100. I feel good at like $50, and I don't want to insult the person by saying, hey, will you take $50? I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that I have recently found on Facebook. And I say recently, like the last 3 months, I've been shopping during the winter. So let me show you all what I got. So one of my more recent finds were these garden stones right here. I'm sure there's some kind of concrete. I don't think they're real stone or anything like that. I ended up getting like 40 of them for $30, I think. And they're going to be utilized in the shade garden as pavers at a later point. But while I was there picking them up from this lady, I noticed that she had all of these terracotta containers, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are so beautiful. And she said, well, are you interested? Because I'm moving and I can't take them with me. And I was like, Yeah, absolutely. So I took pictures of all the ones that I was interested in, and then I went home and thought about it, and then I sent her an offer. I did not lowball her because I really wanted to make sure that I got the pots. I ended up with 7 containers, and you can't see, here's one right there too. 7 containers, and I paid $150 for all of these. Several of them are quite large, several of them are quite old. This basin-like one is one of my favorites. I love all of the aging on the side. I love the shape. I even love the beat up edges. Really, really pretty. This guy I think is newer, very cool looking, and inside it has holes and such. Really beautiful decor. Look at that. Love that. This one, it just has a beautiful kind of sun pattern, but I love the white, like where it's changed colors. Love the shape of this one and the shape of this one with cracked handles. I think is lovely. This guy I actually really thought was fun. Concrete planter. It's 2 frogs hugging each other. I thought that was really beautiful. All of these have drainage holes. It's really happy with quality. And at $150, that means I was paying about $20 per pot approximately. This guy right here, I've seen online many times on Facebook Marketplace, similar size and shape, going for at least $50. So even at $150, I think I got a really, really excellent deal on these pots. I do highly suggest when you bring things into your garden from someone else's garden, I haven't done so with these yet, but you clean them out really, really well. If you can do, I left all the old soil there. I did not bring any of her soil over here to my garden. I just don't know what's in her garden, and I did not want to introduce anything that would cause any potential harm to my plants. So I dumped all the soil out and left it all there. Okay, so the next find are these metal hanging baskets. They definitely have some like damage to them at the base. They have a hole, but I'm okay with that. I mean, it's going to allow for water drainage. And I got 2 of these. This one's the round one. And I got this square one. And I got both of them together for $30. I was really happy with that price point. I love hanging baskets, and I love that these have like, you know, a little bit of, you know, interest to them. They're not just a typical hanging basket. I have another beautiful metal hanging basket in the back as well. So these are going to be really fun to utilize. I think I'm going to be utilizing them on the back porch, but both of them for $30, $15 each. I feel really, really great about that. I'll have to add my own like cocoa core into the inside of it. That's fine. I'll just grab some up from the Dollar Tree, cut them up and make them fit. Okay, so next I got these on Facebook Marketplace as well. I got them both from the same person, and so this one is a round kind of trellis, and this one was $18. And then this one right here is a flat trellis with a little bell, a little bird at the top, super sweet and cute, and it was $12. So the total was $30 from the seller. Felt great about those prices. I mean, you guys know, if you're lucky, you can find these for, you know, 40, 50 bucks, but a lot of times they're more expensive. So I'm really excited to have that. But imagine that in some of these containers will look pretty freaking cool. So I'm really excited about that. I like the look of them. They're actually pretty clean. I can't imagine that they're all that old. Like, I can't imagine that she had them in her garden very long at all, because they're so clean, and they haven't been like sun bleached, anything like that. So real happy with that price point as well. Okay, so those are the items that I've collected over the winter. I'm very, very happy with the items I have collected. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not an easy process. I look through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listings to get to the items that I think work best for me. They have to work best for my aesthetic, but they also have to work really well for my price point. I can't tell you how many terracotta pots I've been through looking, hundreds of them, and the price points are huge, and I just don't I don't want to pay that. And so I do have to work a while to find the ones I want, but it's worth it. And I like it. And they all have a journey and a story to them, which is also something that gives me a lot of joy. I love things that have stories. So I have a lot of antiques and vintage items in my house. Something that has a story or a past and a background just is very romantic to me, and I really enjoy it. Okay, let me give you a look at some of the tulips and hyacinth that I planted, I guess maybe a month back now. They have all been on the back porch in the cool, trying to keep them as cool as possible since we've had these kind of weird heat waves. In fact, today is going to be 87 degrees, which is insanity. And then, let's see, today's going to be 87, and then 2 days later from now, it's going to feel like it's in the 20s. Nothing like a 60-degree drop. So let me show you how those tulips and hyacinth are looking. Okay, as you all remember, I did a whole thing on planting up my tulips and hyacinth, and we've got a bunch of tulips coming up right here, looking really good. I think that they're ready to start moving out into the sun. This is hyacinth right here coming up, which is exciting. I've watered these maybe a couple of times. I don't see any on this one yet. This one, look right there, we have some tulips coming up right there. Nothing on this guy yet. I do think they feel pretty dry. I need to give them a little water. Tulip bulbs starting to peek up there in these containers. Nice. Lots of tulips coming up on this one. Looking really good. Really happy with them, how their progress is going. And so basically the idea behind these was, and I don't know if I want to put them out today, it's too hot. I don't want to throw them in a frenzy. So I think that I might wait till tomorrow, or even on that crazy cold day. I know what y'all think is insane. But the idea was I really wanted to do a gathering of pots right here with beautiful spring bulbs in them. And I think I'm not going to put all of them over here, but definitely a collection of like the concrete stone ones. The two plastic ones, those two guys right there, I think that I'm going to tuck them more along the side garden. I might put one on either side of these bigger planters or something like that, but they're definitely going to be on this side. Over here, kind of tucked in there, would look really nice. I've been harvesting a lot of my daffodils. This is an ice folly, really pretty. You can see I have a whole bunch more still coming. Let me show you some more down here, the daffodils. These coming up down here are can-cans. Super cute little ones. Everything's looking so pretty. Spring is definitely coming. Here's some new to me ones. These are the early cheer daffodils. And so it's like a stem with multiple blooms. They're stinking adorable. I love them. Love them so much. I was thinking about harvesting for them for cut flowers, but they're bringing me so much joy where they're at that I kind of don't want to. Look how fun they are. Aren't they so sweet? Yeah, you can see a lot of my freeze damage because we've just gone back and forth between crazy temps here. So there's definitely some damage regarding that, but the daffodils still look really good. So I have those, and then I showed you the can-can and the ice follies. And then I have some traditional ones up here that were from Aldi's. I just bought a bag from Aldi's, and they've just naturalized in this space. Now, I harvested like 40 of them yesterday, so you can imagine how full that was yesterday. These are just a traditional daffodil, yellow petals with a yellow ruffled cup. Super pretty. Look really, really nice. And I like the look of these across the front of the garden since they've naturalized. So pretty. They bring a lot of joy in early spring. If you haven't planted daffodils, you definitely need to consider that for the fall. I think this is a different variety that's coming up over here. Looks good. Okay, so I have another video coming out, and yes, I'm in socks. I have another video coming up pretty soon, and It's going to be planting gladiolas, calla lilies, and canna bulbs. Canna, I guess those are rhizomes, but it's calla lily bulbs and gladiola bulbs. So what I'm wanting to do is I kind of want to put like a big pot right here and potentially have all of the gladiolas in there. I think it would be really pretty. I'm wanting to tuck some more containers into my gardens just because I think it adds some interest and breaks up all of the green, right? And so let's try a couple of containers in place, and you guys can give me your opinions about what you think looks good or if you think I should move it somewhere else. Okay, so you can see that the idea is I don't want them to be like stand out big time because truthfully all the plants haven't come in yet. So this is going to continue to get filled up. But I love the idea of this big pot here. Underneath it, let me get closer for y'all. Underneath it is maidenhair fern. And I think it would be really, really pretty for it to be coming up around the base of the pot. And then to have something gorgeous inside the pot. Potentially, I would think a perennial, maybe with a few annual accents. Then over here, this basin, I'm wanting to fill that with gladiolas. I think it would be really cool. I have 15 gladiola bulbs, and I think that they would be really cool in there to have. And then I like that because I can move this to a different location, these bulbs to different locations. So I'm not having to commit to like years of having the bulbs in the same place. And I would level out these pots prior to filling them. And then like this one tucked in here, it'd just be really fun. Just maybe have a spilling petunia over it or some kind of other, maybe perennial instead of an annual. But you see how like they're more tucked into the landscape as opposed to standing out. And then when you stand back and look at my house, and it's hard, I apologize because there's a glare, but they go really well with the aesthetic of my house and the color of my house. So they don't stand out like a ton. And I think this will really help me achieve different levels within my garden and a different level of interest. There's something about seeing, you know, one of these old pots just really tucked back in here. But then the other great part of it is it's not forever. I can pick up and move this pot at any point in time if I would like, which I think there's a lot to be said about that. Yeah, I like it. I mean, this is just an idea. I'm just going to put some pots out and like live with them for a few days and see what I think of them along the way. I come and go from my house a million times a day because I have a ton of children and they have a lot of stuff going on all the time. And so I think this will give me the opportunity to kind of enjoy and spread stuff around and look at. I think it would be nice to maybe cluster some pots too. Maybe especially this basin one, maybe I put a secondary smaller pot beside it. And these are my giant limelight hydrangeas. And then I'm also wanting to tuck back here. I'm wanting to do potentially the summerific hibiscus or the Suncredible sunflowers. I'm wanting to tuck right here in front of the limelight hydrangeas. So, and then this whole portion, typically I do a whole lot of annuals in the front of here. So, I mean, this guy will get swallowed up, but in a really good way, swallowed up. Okay, so you can kind of get a little bit of my idea and vision. I don't want everything to be perfectly manicured. I want, like I said, I want pots to look like they're swallowed up within the gardenscape. I want them to look like they've been left out and weathered for years and years and years. I like that effect and that aesthetic in my garden. I think it looks really nice. I want things to look like they've kind of organically and naturally evolved over the years. But of course, this garden, I've really only been working on this garden 3 years. I've been in this house for 5 years. But yeah, so it's really only a 3-year-old garden, and there are a lot of aspects of it that are barely a year old. I had a bird just fly over and he's losing his mind. You can definitely tell it's spring. I have the doors open to the back of my house and the birds are just like, yeah, they're going crazy. The willow tree is starting to leaf out, which is really exciting too. But it's all starting to come together, and March 15th is our projected last frost date, so I am 3 weeks away. Cannot wait. But I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of aspect of learning about my garden today. We talk a lot about plants and seedlings and that kind of stuff, but I really wanted to talk a little bit more about where I'm finding my items and how I'm wanting to utilize them, or how I'm wanting to design within my garden. When someone says garden design, it can be really intimidating, because when I think of garden design, I think people who've paid for, a professional landscaper, or they have these beautiful drawn out plans, which are lovely. I don't have that kind of approach when I'm doing that. Now, some aspects, I have been doing a few drawings for my shade garden, but I don't do a lot of drawing for the rest of my garden. I do a lot of, let's put it there, let's see if we like it. If we don't, we'll move it somewhere else. I do a lot of just trying it out, see what it looks like, and if I don't like it, I'll change it up, kind of situation. But I thought it might be really fun to share these kind of things. Typically I would just go ahead and stick them in my garden, not say anything, but I know that a lot of people recently have expressed concerns about the cost of gardening. This is not a cheap hobby. This is a very expensive hobby. I started a lot from seed this year to help out, and then, like I've said, I've been shopping a lot for Facebook Marketplace, thrifting, estate sales, that type of thing, in order to be able to keep going the direction I want to go with my garden without breaking the bank. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's video. A little bit different than what we typically do, but still fun, still interesting. Drop me a comment. Let me know if this is kind of stuff that you like to do in your garden, where you like to shop for your items. If you like to shop brand new, that's great. Tell us what your favorite store is where you find your best deals. I'd love to hear it. I'd also love to hear how you would describe your garden. Are you modern? Are you farmhouse? Are you manicured? Are you wild and crazy? Do you live on a property where everything's overgrown and you love it because it feels like a secret garden? Talk to me a little bit about kind of the style of your garden, or at least the direction you would like to go someday with your garden. Okay, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when my latest videos are out. When you hit that notification bell, it sends you an alert whenever my videos come out so that you know first thing. And then also be sure to check me out on my community page on YouTube, as well as TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.